Ed, this is Hong Kong. We're set up here about 1,200 feet above sea level, overlooking the Hong Kong harbor. Down below us is the business center of the island section of Hong Kong, and across the bay is the Kowloon section.
In World War II, the British lost Hong Kong after less than 3 weeks of fighting. No one today gives it much more than 3 days, if the Chinese communists ever decide to take it. Hong Kong is a tiny island that huddles a few miles off the coast of China. The Chinese wanted it long before Mao Zedong, who lets the British flag remain there because the communists like to keep it as a trading post, a listening post, a sort of Asiatic Switzerland. The two important buildings are the two banks, the Hong Kong and Shanghai Bank, operated by British interests, and right next door, the Bank of China. When the communists took over Chinese property, they made it just a little taller than the British bank and added larger and fancier lions. Hong Kong is the best port in this part of Asia, and it's a free port, with money-changing shops on every corner. But the U.S. embargo on trade with Red China has severely cut down its usefulness as a port. Nothing is supposed to enter Red China from here. Yet, much of Hong Kong's food supply comes from Red China. Mao Zedong could cut this food supply overnight, but it provides employment for a couple of million Chinese on the Canton Delta and dollars in the communist treasury. The business of Hong Kong today is refugees, escapees from Red China. The actual exodus takes place on the mainland. Hong Kong includes Kowloon and the new territories, and the frontier is located across the bay on the communist mainland. Here at Lo Wu, there is the equivalent of the Brandenburg Gate in the bamboo curtain.
Ed, this is Lo Wu, New Territories, Hong Kong. It's the border between Hong Kong and Red China. Hundreds of people cross this borderline each day. Many never returned to Red China.
Side by side, with only the border in between, the flags of two great powers fly.
I'm Inspector Rose of the Hong Kong Police. We have very little trouble on the frontier at this bridge. We have nothing that we aren't capable of dealing with. The broadcast you can hear in the background is the communist propaganda broadcast. It takes place daily on the arrival of the trains from Kowloon.
There is a train from Canton or Shanghai every day, and a priest who meets every train.
I am Father Poletti. I belong to the Foreign Mission of Milan in Italy. It is almost 3 years that I'm coming here every day to meet all the missionaries, either Catholic or Protestants, who they are coming, but the great part of them, they are expelled by the communists from China. In these 3 years, I met about 3,200 and more missionaries. Now, I think in China there are about 295, 94, 96, I don't know. And I'm very glad to do this kind of work because many missionaries, they arrive here without passport, like beggars, like criminals.
Father Poletti meets missionary number 3,201, a bishop.
Thank you very much.
You better take it.
All right.
Stay in the country.
Father, will you tell me your name, please?
Mario Civelli,
And how long had you been in China?
41 years in China.
41 years.
Yes.
And how did you get out of China?
They kicked me out just because I didn't permit it. How to say in English?
You didn't agree.
I didn't agree.
Tell me, Father, how does it feel to be here?
I am. It is very wonderful. I am free, but my heart is still with my diocese and with my Christians.
因為共產黨我家鄉逼我走。
His name is Wang Jiuqun, and he's from the area of Canton.
佢要揾錢，要啲錢，佢就逼我咯。
He is a very wealthy landowner, and the communists wanted to force him out.
佢其實唔知佢做乜嘢。
用手呢，用棒呢，點樣打你？
用黑鞭啊，用個力鞭啊。
And 幫你。
力鞭。
The communists bound his arms behind his back and beat him with a bamboo stick. And one evening, he just took a chance and escaped to Hong Kong.
我係劉翠彤，喺省榮出嚟嘅。
I have lived all my life in Canton. Now at my age, I am moving to Hong Kong. Living conditions in Canton are very bad. But for an old person, maybe it makes no difference. Still, I go to Hong Kong, and I shall never go back.
I'm just one of the many missionaries who have come out of communist China since the communists have taken over in 1949. My name is Siegfried Schneider, and my hometown is in Louisville, Kentucky. When the communists came to Wuchang in 1949, we knew that we were in trouble. For the first year, however, things were not too bad. After that, when the Korean War started and Chinese volunteers entered Korea, there was a great campaign to get rid of us foreigners. The communist authorities began to find trouble with us and to make a case against us. In our orphanage, they began to make investigations, and they dug up the cemetery and filled a number of coffins with bones. In the end of May, on the 25th, they arrested the bishop and me. After a public trial in a theater at which many people were present, we were accused of causing the death of many children, and I was sentenced to 5 years in jail, and the bishop to 3. After we were in jail for 2 years, and the bishop was too weak to stand, and I was also very weak, the communists then, besides bread, also gave us a Coca-Cola bottle of milk each day, and that brought us back on our feet. When I came over the border a little over a month ago, I was very weak, and since that time I have already put on 20 pounds.
My name is Daniel Wang. I was born in Nanchang. This is my son, Edward. Another is my son, Jackson, and my daughter, Gracie. During my family living in Canton, my children were studying in a communist school. I taught my children one night. I said, I do not like the communists. I want to strike down Mao Zedong. And my 5-year-old son, Edward, he said, oh, if you want to strike down Mao Zedong, I will call the policeman, put you in the jail, and I will kill you.
One day, when I said that I did not like Mao Zedong and the communists, my youngest son scolded me and said, Father, You can't talk that way about our leader. I'll call the police. I'll kill you. Then I knew I had to get them out of China. This train from Lo Wu is the chief escape route out of Red China. Like the refugees coming out of East Germany, most of these people carry their possessions and their families on their backs. Few of them have any funds, and the chances of employment in Hong Kong are slim, but it's a way out. The train goes from Lo Wu to Kowloon, where a ferry shuttles the refugee traffic across the bay to the island. For most of them, this is the end of the line. They can go no farther. James Michener has called Hong Kong the jewel of Asia, one of the loveliest cities on earth. Right now, it is probably the most crowded city on earth. At first glance, the streets have the traditional well-kept appearance of the classic British colony. But it is almost like a Hollywood movie facade. If you probe behind the front, there is the new city, the city of more than 1.5 million refugees. Every accessible hillside is honeycombed with tiny huts, tumbled together like so much nondescript debris. Matchbox shacks, where rainwater drains under the boards and is then hoarded for drinking purposes. Nothing grows on Hong Kong except refugees, and refugee camps fill every empty area. These singers are blind veterans of the Nationalist Army. This camp is jammed with some of the 2 million escapees who came through the gate at Lo Wu on the mainland. These are the transients and squatters, as the communist spokesman referred to them. These are the 300,000 who came across to spend their money and have a good time and then return, he says. Actually, there are 6 times that number, and for them, even this is better than communism.